Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Germany's anti-immigration Alternative for Germany is celebrating a historic success with a big victory for the far-right party in the eastern state of Thuringia. Here, the moment the AfD saw the results of the election for the first time, they won almost a third of the vote, 9 points ahead of the conservative CDU, and far in front of Germany's 3 governing parties. And here, in a press conference, the AfD's Alice Weigel telling the Chancellor to pack his bags. The result gives the far-right its first win in a state parliament election since World War II, although it has little hope of forming a government because other parties are unlikely to work with it. Olaf Scholz said the results were bitter and called on other mainstream parties to form state governments without the far-right. Israel's Labour Court has ordered the end to a general strike, demanding that the government agrees a deal to secure the release of hostages held by Hamas. Businesses, schools and transport across Israel had been affected by a general strike called to demand that the government agrees a deal to secure the release of the current hostages still being held. It's after the bodies of 6 hostages were recovered by soldiers from Gaza over the weekend. The IDF said they had been killed shortly before its troops reached them. However, Hamas says they were killed in an Israeli attack. Loud explosions have rocked Ukraine's capital Kyiv early on Monday, coinciding with the first day back at school for many children. Residents across the city were awoken by a quick succession of bangs and the sound of air defense missiles blasting off skyward to intercept targets. The Air Force said it had destroyed 22 out of 35 missiles and 20 out of 23 attack drones. The broad bombardment, a week after Russia unleashed its largest air attack on Ukraine since its invasion in early 2022. Meanwhile, Russian strikes injured at least 41 people in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. Here, flames and thick black smoke are also seen near a building in Belgorod in the aftermath of an attack there. Hundreds of locals in Vijayawada, a city in India's southern state of Andhra Pradesh, have been left stranded after flash floods triggered by heavy rains inundated vast areas. Residents were forced to wade through waist-high waters on flooded roads as rescue teams deployed on inflatable boats tried to save as many people as possible, but some said there was not enough assistance. Although forecasts suggest a cyclonic depression off the southern Andhra Pradesh coast will weaken, heavy rains are still expected to batter the South Indian coastal districts within the next 24 hours. President Xi Jinping and Foreign Minister Wang Yi have held a string of talks with African counterparts ahead of a forum on China-Africa cooperation. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa arrived at the Great Hall of the People to attend a welcome ceremony held by the Chinese president. Here, the Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa also arriving. At least 50 African heads of state and government will visit for the forum. Beijing has labelled the 3-day event, which is the 9th Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, as the biggest major diplomatic event hosted by China in years. South Africa's phase-out of breeding captive big game and ban on the use of lions for commercial gain has left some big cat breeders worried about their business prospects. A ministerial task team appointed by former Minister of Environment recommended in December 2022 closure of the breeding sector, but did not provide financial incentives for lion owners once the ban took effect. The government implemented the recommendations in April with no deadline for breeding to cease. South Africa has over 8,000 lions living in captivity, the largest captive lion population in the world. And a new expedition has revealed the effects of the passage of time on the wreck of the Titanic. A large section of railing on the bow has fallen to the seafloor as a result of erosion by salt water and microbes. The loss of the railing, immortalised in the 1997 film starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, was discovered during a series of dives by underwater robots this summer. The ship sank in April 1912 after hitting an iceberg, resulting in the loss of 1,500 lives. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.